3 options to move. So if you are within driving range, this is what I'm talking about. Basically, you can drive with a car from your current flat to the next flat or apartment or house. When it comes now to moving and to not move an entire household, but to move like a smaller unit of stuff, then these are the 3 options. The first one is having a big van. You can either have the van on your own, rent it or borrow it from people you know, or rent it professionally. If you rent it professionally, then you will probably pay a few $100 for this whole procedure. The second option is to have a medium car in combination with a trailer. So the trailer can also have different sizes. In order to prevent the risk of your stuff getting water damaged, it would also make sense to take a trailer that actually has something on it that is kind of a water protection, because if it rains, your stuff will get wet. Think about documents, for example, being exposed to rain. And the third and final option is to just book something, an external moving company. Now let's discuss these options in more detail. A problem with the cars in general, with the smaller cars, is that you cannot really access the space in them so well, because in order to actually fill out the space, you need to have a kind of boxy proportion. Also, one of the problems is that your stuff probably will not come in boxes already. Therefore, of course, you can move your stuff into boxes, but as soon as these boxes get too heavy, you cannot put any more stuff into these boxes, because otherwise they will tear. So tear apart, not tear. So one strategy I have implemented to kind of bypass this problem is I tried to put all my stuff into boxes. And these boxes are collapsible. They are also black. You can see them in different videos I made already. And the main benefit of these is that they put my stuff into boxes and therefore make it able to put one box onto the other and actually use the space of either a trailer or a car. So now, when it comes to a bigger car, I also already moved once with a bigger car, actually twice, because I also moved back to the original flat again. And what became apparent is the fact that most cars are actually not boxy. Of course, the bigger the car is, the more boxy it tends to get. Take a truck, for example. A truck has 2 boxes on the back, or 1 box on the back and something in the front that actually carries the load. But cars often look like this. And this is, I think, due to wind resistance reasons mostly, but also design reasons maybe. But a car is not something that allows you to store a lot of boxes in them. So the bigger the car, the better you can actually access this space. Now, comparing the 3 different options. Of course, if you take your own car, you will also maybe, so if the car is your own, or you actually get it from a relative or a friend of yours or somebody you know, then it also would make sense to pay them at least something for the usage of the car, since you are adding miles or kilometers onto the car itself. This is the one cost, and you have the same cost also in a rented van, for example, or in a rented trailer, which you then could use in combination with your own car or your own borrowed car. So basically the cost is, in all these scenarios, very similar actually, because if you would try to compensate the loss or the usage of the car or the trailer in a proper way to the person who is borrowing you whatever you have, then it's kind of the same result as in a typical rental, a car rental. And additionally, you have to pay the cost of fuel, which could be either electric or not electric. When it comes to electric vehicles and moving, since electric vehicles still kind of have a problem with battery and the battery range, you have to calculate a lot more time for moving, because in between you have to stop every other hour to refuel the car. When it now comes to energy costs and to the cost of fuel, electric vehicles, at least currently, and at least in my experience of moving the past 2 days, have a big advantage, the advantage of being cheaper. So I moved back and forth basically, since I'm currently returning the car, in total 1,000 kilometers. And if I had taken a diesel car, then it would have cost me around 300 euros just for the fuel. Now I'm currently driving electric, and with this electric car I'm probably paying anywhere from 50 to 100 euros, maybe 150, depends on how. I haven't added up all the different costs, but guessing from a calculator I found online, it's between 50 and 100. Probably it's a little bit more. I charged in total 6 times, or 5 times until now actually, and the car was charged in the beginning, which I don't count. So therefore I will probably pay at least half the price for fuel. Since the other price factors remain constant, this now makes an electric vehicle a far cheaper option. Now let's compare how easy it is to handle all of these different things. If you have a trailer, you actually need to have a license for a trailer. Of course, you can also have a smaller trailer, but chances are there is not that much stuff fitting in. I actually have a trailer. So I have the trailer currently attached. It's not that I own this trailer, but it is not as big, at least within Germany, that you would actually need a trailer license specifically. The video was interrupted. So now, to sum it up, if you want to go for the cheapest option, even though it's not really the cheapest option, but just indirectly the cheapest option, because you don't really pay for it, is to either use your own car or the car of somebody you know, and together in a combination with a trailer, I guess. So a trailer is also rentable, and these are, compared to a van, for example, if you rent a van for 2 days, you will pay 300, 400, 500 euros. But if you only rent a trailer, it's much cheaper, 25 to 50 euros for 2 days. So if you already have a car that has a trailer adapter in the back, then it would be, I think, a wise decision to get a trailer with a plane on it. In addition, if you want to go electric, it takes a lot more time. Nevertheless, it saves you a lot of money. So if you're actually driving a few hundred kilometers, so I basically made the calculation for me. So the difference in fuel price for these 1,000 kilometers with the current high fuel prices was 200 euros. And if I say that what would be the additional cost of me, the additional hours? So basically, in the charging hours, I can do something. So I can either plan something or work on my notebook or sleep, and therefore drive earlier because I can sleep on the way. Or I can just say that the additional hours, so basically what I would have, so for one way, it basically would have taken me 5 hours if I drove straight through. And with the car, basically with the electric car, it took me around 10 hours in total with the refueling stations. So the refueling is also kind of a break in between, which you would make anyway. Therefore, this is also a factor that deserves consideration. And in total, I think if you just add up the 200 euros and divide it by the 4 additional or 5 additional hours, then 200 divided by 5 is an hourly wage of 40 euros. So therefore, if you just want to have an hourly wage of 40 euros for 5 hours, then I think this is a pretty good financial decision. This sums the comparison between those 3 different options up, and I hope you enjoyed the end of the video, and that's the end.